We're now ready to begin visualizing data. And to do this, I'll click the Insert tab and then insert a new Power View sheet into my workbook. So this connects to the model. I'll go ahead and close the Power Query Navigator. And this is the Power View design surface. So first of all, let's add a title, and then we'll add a summary in the title of our report. So we'll just call this Sightings Summary. This will be a dashboard that will show me a summary of UFO sightings across different categories with different interactive drill downs and visuals. So we'll start with just sightings. So when I drag that sightings measure onto the report, I can make the font nice and big. It just creates this card that shows me that number. And then I can place it where I want it. Let's put it over on the, over there by the title. Now, I want to click off of a visual and onto the blank canvas to begin a new visual. So I'll drag sightings, and then I would like to see my shape categories and then shape so that I can see sightings by category and then sightings by shape. So we'll expand the shape category table, and I'll add categories and then shapes. Now, if I drag and drop the hierarchy, it will actually expand it and give me all of the columns. I need to rearrange these so that they're in the right order. There in the fields list, we see category, shapes, then sightings. Then I can grab the edge of that table and bring it over where I want it. So everything starts as a table, and then I can convert it to the right visual. So here I'll switch that to a bar chart and expand that. Not quite what I was looking for. When I did that, the designer decided to put the shapes in my legend, so I'll move that back to the axes. And there you can see my bar chart with sightings grouped and visualized by category. And then if I double click on one of those bars, it'll allow me to drill down to the details for that category down into the actual shapes. So that's kind of nice. Let's go to the report date. I also want to see sightings in a time series by year. So if I drag and drop the year, you'll see that I get a list of all of the years. And then I want sightings. So there's a list of my sightings by year. But notice that I've got some bad data in here. So we may or may not want to actually be able to show sightings that don't have a year associated with them. So we have a choice to make. We can either filter that out here in the report, or we can go all the way back to the drawing board, go back to Power Query, and then eliminate those sightings that don't have a year associated with them. And the reason we have those is because I started my report date table at 1900. We have sightings that date previous to that. So I'm simply going to drag and drop the year into the filters pane and then use the slider to filter out those years. So there's a list, which is kind of nice, but it's not a very good visual. So what I'm going to do is flatten that out, put it down here at the bottom of the canvas, and then I'll switch that to a column chart. And there you can see that that's a nice column chart, but I really have too many values in there to show. So I'm going to reduce the font size. I can go back to my filter and just filter out all of my values and bring that back to a range that makes a little more sense. Starting, let's say at 1974, that allows me to show all of the years all the way up to the current year. So that's kind of nice. That works for me. What's nice is that if I click on any of these columns, it will slice and show me the portion of the measure values that represent the sliced value, in this case the year, against all of my filtered values for each of my categories up above. And then if I click on one of those categories, I can drill down into the exact shape. Visualization principles apply universally to different data reporting requirements. Some aggregate values are segmented into groups, while others are measured in a continuous or time series. Some values are only meaningful when measured against a target or reference value. How does the value contribute to a whole? How should we express a value that deviates from the mean or the normal range? Is our data related to geographic regions, and how should it be expressed to be meaningful? Keeping these principles in mind as we design this dashboard, visualization is often just a matter of experimentation. So it's great to have a tool like PowerView where we can very quickly change the visualization and create cross slicers and interact with the data quickly to see what we think is going to work. Now, any of the visuals that support drill down will have a drill up button. So you can see that I've drilled back up in that bar chart from my shapes back up to my category. And then I can drill down again, then use that drill up button in the upper right hand corner to go back. I can also use Control C and Control V to copy and paste a visual. And so I'm going to change this to a pie chart. And a pie chart is great if I just have a small number of segmented groups, but if I add more data and I have a lot of values, then the pie chart quickly becomes very, very useless. So there I'm drilling down into the pie chart just by clicking on one of the slices or double clicking on one of the slices, and then I can drill back up using that drill up button. So that's interesting, but it's actually redundant with the bar chart on the left. So I think I need to decide whether I want to use the bar chart or the pie chart, because they're essentially doing the same thing and just visualizing the data a little bit differently. So let's add a different visual. We'll leave that one alone and come back to it. So I also want to see the time of day that my UFO sightings have taken place. So if I go to my report time of day, I learned through experimentation that using the actual time of day was too granular, and that's why I created the time block, breaking the time down into 30-minute segments. So by adding that, it gives us a table, and then we'll add our sightings, and then we'll turn that into a line chart. And you can see that works when it's wide and short. So we'll resize that. You just use the handles on each of these visuals. And it's very common for these things to overlap, and so we need to move them around a little bit so that they don't overlap or don't overlap too much. So there I have the time of day, and then I can use other visuals on the report to cross drill. So if I click on light or fireball, you can see that there were actually more of those sightings later on at night. And if we slice by something else, you'll see that chart's interactive, and it gets filtered and it changes as we choose different shape categories. Okay, so I'm getting a nice visual experience here. I don't know that it's really telling the whole story, but I really don't think that, again, my pie chart and my bar chart work real well. You can see that the pie does have this nice feature where it will change the depth of a slice as I slice or filter the data. So I'm going to add some geographic data now. So I've created a table adding the state and city, and then I'll add my sightings. And then I'll also add, now I know that I have some sightings that don't get categorized into states. So if I want to express this geographically, I need to filter my data so that the Bing Map service, which is used to geocode this data, can recognize it. So I've got states and Canadian provinces. It's pretty good about recognizing different province abbreviations, but not all. So obviously it's optimized for US data, works well for other North American data, but not all data. So I'm using the filter to get rid of unassigned states. And we do have to give it permission to use the Bing Map service the first time, enable that when we first open the report. So you can see it is populating my map. So if I put state ahead of city under locations, that gives me this drill down path again. So I can double click on something and drill down to a lower level. And then I also want to segment this based on the shape category. So if I drop that into my axis or my color, that becomes an axis group, and then that essentially creates this colorful pie chart over each of my geographic regions, which is a nice visual. It's a very useful visual, and it's something that users readily understand. I want to move the legend so that it's not taking up so much room over on the right. Since I only have 4 segmented values, we'll put the legend on the bottom. And you can see that that there are actually some provinces that were either incorrectly geocoded, or they're just in areas that are outside my normal range of data. So those are examples of outliers or deviant data that I may want to either filter or I need to deal with by some kind of a data cleansing. So if I click on each of these items in the bar chart, then it highlights that segment of the data for each of my states, which is nice for comparison. Power View is normally pretty easy to figure out, doesn't require a lot of hand-holding or user education. So you can see that as you hover over each of the visuals, in this case the slices of the pie charts in our map, that a tooltip is displayed that shows the details, it shows the state, the category, and the actual number of sightings.